doesn't help. No.
We have the triple Jesus.
The triple Jesus.
Guys, we have no line. Guys, Kage is doing nothing. This is a code Kage. I repeat, code Kage.
Automatic corkscrew. He didn't do it right. Uh-oh.
Emergency.
Oh, he's got it. Never mind.
You can say when at any time.
Four.
When? They know me so well here. You know, some people have said to me, they said, Uncle Kage, you must be a connoisseur. I'm not. I'm a lush. Do you know the difference?
Yes.
It's whether you spit or swallow. That's an onophile joke. I would put this down, but then I would not have it in my hand, so I'm just going to continue holding it, hope you don't mind. As to alluded, this is the hardest thing in the world, is to follow to the ranting griffin. I always plead with people, let me go first, and I'll warm up the crowd, and then he can do the real comedy, so I gotta, like, wow. This will be tough. I'll try, though. I've got incentive.
Incentive. Oh, I like this. Welcome to my story hour. By the end of the evening, you will all belong to me.
Furries, I am your uncle.
Oh, hello. Oh, you can just set that down there. That'll be the next in line. Thank you very much. Of course, as you can see, the glass is less than half full. So I'm indeed Uncle Kage, that's what they call me, I don't know why. I'm a scientist, I'm an actual scientist, PhD, Dartmouth 1991, which is why I wear the white coat. I had for the longest time been a resident of the state of Pennsylvania, but I am now a resident of the state of North Carolina. I work in the Research Triangle area, which is where all scientists go when they're bad. Nom nom. North Carolina is a lovely, lovely state, but it's something of a different culture. I am myself a northerner, and the area that I live in is outside of Raleigh. It is a town called Cary, which is actually an acronym. It stands for Containment Area for Relocated Yankees. How'd you get a piece of cork all the way on the edge here? Only the Bulge could do that. There. Nom. I bought myself a lovely, lovely condominium on a lake and moved in, and I was very, very happy. Enjoyed my new job and everything. North Carolina is a very, very warm climate, so I never even thought about turning on the heat till about October. October came along, and I noticed living in North Carolina, my latent southern accent, which I get from my father from Alabama, tends to come out, and I don't really have any way to control it, so I'm sorry. But October came about and started getting a wee bit chilly in there, so I flipped on the heat in my brand new condominium, and well, I noticed that it really wasn't getting any warmer. So I said, oh, thank God I bought a home warranty when I bought the place. They let me call the home warranty people. So I called them up, and I said, my place ain't getting warm. And they said, okay, we'll send someone to fix it. 2-3 days went by, and I called them back, and they said, didn't he show up? And I said, well, what kind of question is that? If he had shown up, why would I be bothering you? Well, okay, let's play a little bitty game here. Let's play a little bitty game. The game is called, did he show up? And here's the answer, no! Send him out here now, because it's now starting to get a little chillier. If you don't mind, I'd like to have my heat. So she said, all right, we'll send him right out. 3 days later, I called him back. And she said, didn't he show up? I said, don't play that game with me again. I got an idea. We're gonna have him show up, or I'm gonna go find him. And he ain't gonna like that. So that very evening there was a knock at my door, and I answered the door, and standing there was good old Smiling Joe. Smiling Joe went and he looked at the heater and he said, I see your problem there, Mr. Conway. Look at it, can you see that there? You can see, we've got a big problem here. See, your automatic flip-flop overdrive seems to have got itself inverted, and the masturbator circuit is not plugging away at all, and the butts pulley there is completely burned out. I said, so what's all that mean? He said, well, it means you need an entirely new unit. You're looking at $2,000-3,000 there. I can come by tomorrow, maybe get some things to patch it up a little bit, but eventually you're going to have to replace it. Never saw him again. A week later, I called up the home warranty people, and I said, hi, guess what? I'm going to hire my own guy. He's going to come out, he's going to fix my heat. I want you to contact Smiling Joe for me, and I want you to leave a message for him. I want you to tell Smiling Joe that I do not want to see him on my property ever again. As a matter of fact, I don't ever want to clap eyes on Smiling Joe again, because if I do, I will not be responsible for the outcome. And I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment. So I called up a proper heating professional. Pardon me. Proper heating professional, PHP for short. And Mr. PHP came out, and he looked at the heater and said, well, I don't see what Smiling Joe was talking about. The automatic flip-flop overdrive is exactly where its configuration ought to be, and your masturbator circuit is just pumping away just like normal, and the butts pull, look at that thing pulling there. I don't see what the problem is. No, yeah, I think he was trying to rob you there. I said, well, that's a relief. So, you know what's wrong with it, right? He said, yeah, there's no heat coming out. Oh, thank God you're a heating professional. Oh my goodness, I would never have known. No, I bow before your amazing skill. Can you fix it? He said, nope. Okay, let's start this again. What do I do? Why is there no heat coming out? He said, well, look at how this here works, see? You got some hot water going through these coils here, and the fan blows the air over those coils, and that makes hot air come out. I said, great, thermodynamics, I can follow that, I'm a scientist. So, why is there no heat coming out? He said, oh, it's because those coils ain't getting hot. Okay, we're leading on to this, all right? I said, can you fix that? He said, nope. All right, I'll buy it. Why? He said, well, that's water in pipes. You need to hire a plumber. All right, so he left. So I hired me a plumber. I didn't get one, I got 3. I got Billy Bob, Bobby Bob, and Cletus showed up at my place. And Billy Bob's the one doing the talking. He came out and said, yeah, there, Mr. Conway, take a look at this here. I'm going to notice that bump there, that bump is cavitating. You see, that's your problem. You get the air bubble in that bump, and it starts to cavitate, and you're going to be pulling nothing in there. But once that cavitating start there, and that air bubble get in there, you're going to be pulling nothing. That way you can know hot water going through. And I said, okay. Can you fix it? He said, yep. I said, what you going to do? He said, you can take the water out and put it back in. I said, the same water? He said, yeah, why not? Well, okay, and that will fix it. All right, okay, you guys are professionals, I'll let you go. So they took the water out, put it back in, I'll be damned, it worked. The same water, I don't know, maybe they said a prayer over there, I don't know, but I finally had heat, and I had heat, and I was happy. For all of 4 weeks. When the heat cut out again, now it's in the November. And this time, there's a fan in there. I didn't even hear the fan going. So I called up Mr. PHP again, and he came out, and he took one look at the heater, and he said, well, I see your problem. I said, what is it this time? He said, those fellas who came and took the water out, put it back in, it wasn't Billy Bob, Bobby Bob, and Cletus, was it? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, that's what I thought. You see, they take the water out by opening this valve here. They really ought to close it when they're done. And he showed me there was a trickle of water trickling out, and it was going down and disappearing on the fan. Now, for those of you who are familiar with these things, it's what they call a squirrel cage fan. It's like a big, hamster wheel that goes round and round like this. And apparently, I'd been having this kind of Mississippi powder wheeler thing going for a while, and surging up water, because there was about 2 gallons of water to fill this thing up. So, well, we dumped that out, and he fixed it for me, and that was really very nice. And you would think that this would spoil my mood, but it didn't, because I was looking forward to something I had coming. It's a beautiful thing, the way the tax laws work in this country. When you sell a house and you move and everything, if you play your cards right, you can get a significant amount of money back. And I was going to be having a very, very big pile of money coming back, so even with all this, nothing was going to make me unhappy. You see it coming, don't you? It started when I was on my way home from work. Now, let's just say that the police down there are very friendly. And that police officer really wanted to catch up to me just to say hi. And it's unfair, I tell you, it is unfair. I call it entrapment, because he was on a motorcycle. I'm looking for a big Dodge Charger there, and he's on a motorcycle. That's not fair. So he pulled me over, and okay, when you are a comic and you're under stress, there's a natural desire to want to employ some humor to reduce the stress of the situation. And sometimes it's an instinct, it just happens. So when the officer tapped on the window, I rolled it down, and he said, "Do you know how fast you were going?" I said, "Apparently not fast enough to outrun you." That was a $210 joke. Okay, $210 pales in comparison to the windfall that's going to be coming. I'm looking forward to that. This is going to be great. I'm going to buy myself new winter treatments. That'll make me happy. Yeah. Well, I was going to be traveling to England for Confuzzled back in the springtime. And you see, those of you who do not travel internationally, let me tell you a little trick you can use. You see, when you come back into this country, everybody assumes that you are an Arab terrorist. Even if you look like this. And they are going to drill you, give you the 3rd degree. Now, in order to get around the security, you just pay the government a little bit of money and say, you check a box that says, not an Arab, and you can just walk past all of that. It's called global entry. So I was going to apply for global entry so I can get into the country easier, since I obviously look like an Arab sheik, as you see here. So all you got to do is you get your passport, and I put my passport down here, and you go to the website, and it says, "Hi, this is a global entry website. Give us your passport number. You know, check the following box: Arab, not Arab, not Arab." Okay, great, you're approved. It's only $100. Get your credit card out. Okay, it's $100. Yeah, all right. This is getting to hurt my bank account a little bit, but I want that global entry. This is worth it. So put in my passport number, all the information. Not Arab, double check, not Arab. You know, please, you know, re-enter. Arab, not Arab. Yes, not Arab. And gave him my $100. I was all ready. This was going to be, you know, fun. I'm going to be able to get back into the country. But there was one little thing that I didn't notice. There's a second step. You would think that there would be a second step. About 4 or 5 days later, I got an email from them saying, "Okay, you're conditionally approved. You now need to have a face-to-face interview with a global entry customs person." I said, "Okay, where can I do that?" And they said, "Well, Philadelphia, Chicago, Seattle, Atlanta." I said, "How about Raleigh?" They said, "Oh no, not there." So I said, "So I actually have to get onto an airplane and fly to one of these airports to be interviewed by the guy?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Just bring along your passport." I said, "Okay." I got the passport, was right here. Put something on top of it. I don't know, maybe, uh-oh. It fall down by the side of the desk. I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. I looked all around. I actually disassembled the desk piece by piece and sat it down in a pile, and the passport was not there. And I was starting to get decidedly upset, trying not to think of the fact that my waste paper basket is located right here in front of the desk. Okay? We're not going to panic. But 2 days went by, and after I had taken every one of my personal belongings and put them out on the sidewalk and numbered it sequentially with a little tag, non-passport number 1289. I had to admit that it probably was gone. So I went to the passport office, and, well, it's an interesting thing in that part of the world. You cannot just walk into the passport office. You have to call a number to make an appointment to go to the passport office. And I called that number, and I left a message for them, they never called me back. And it was getting kind of close to the time I needed that passport, so I went in to the lady and I said, "Look, isn't there something you can do?" I got tears in my eyes and said, "Look at me, I'm a pathetic old man. I want to travel to see my poor dying grandmother in England, and I just need my passport. What am I going to do?" So she said, "All right, I'll make an exception just for you. All you have to do, in the next 10 minutes, you need to get your birth certificate out here, and we will try to expedite it for you." So I hopped in my car, went charging down the road at exactly 35 miles an hour, got to my house, dug out the birth certificate, brought it in there, put it in front of the lady, and she said, "Oh, we can't use this." I said, "Well, why not? It's mine." She said, "Well, we can't use it." I said, "Well, I was born. I can prove it. Look, see? Look, human being. That's me." Well, apparently the state of Pennsylvania in the 60s didn't think it was necessary to put the parents' names on the passport. I'm sorry, on the birth certificate. And I said, "Well, what am I supposed to do? Why do you need that?" She said, "Well, for all we know, your father's name was Abdul Hussein." So I was kind of over a Bower Hill. So she said, "Do you have an older passport?" I said, "Yes, I do. It's at home." So we're charging home again at exactly 35 miles an hour. I got the older passport, brought it back in, and she's looking at her watch. So we went in, and she looked at the passport and said, "Okay, this is good enough." And she went chum to my application and said, "All right, let's see. That's $115 for the passport, and there's $75 for the expediting fee, and the $50 fee for calling in without an appointment, and this fee for that, and this fee." It turned out to be damn near $300 by the time I was done. And that was really starting to sting my bank account. So I went home. At least we got that taken care of. The new passport will be here in just a few days. And when I got home, much to my delight, there was a big packet from my accountant. Here's what I've been waiting for all this time. And I opened it. Now, you know, I went to school for chemistry, not for math. I never was good at that numbers thing. It turned out I wasn't getting a whole big crap load of money. I was going to be given a whole big crap load of money. Some $3,000 worth that the US government wanted from me. I must have forgotten to carry a 4 somewhere. And here's a note from the accountant saying, please send the government $3,000. Please send me $150 for doing your taxes. And P.S., why did you send me your passport? That kind of bummed me out. There's a lot of furries in the Triangle area, and that is a saving grace because they saw that I was bummed out, and some of them came to visit me, and they said, Uncle Kage, we're going to cheer you up. And I said, boys, I don't think that's going to work. And they said, there's a sake bar in town. I'm like, really? Take me. And they said, it's just 2 miles up the road. Come on, we'll drive. I'm like, you're going to drive? Good. This is going to be perfect. Sake bar, you say, how many varieties do they have? They said, well, we don't know. We haven't been. We just heard about it. So we went into this place, and a very, very Asian-looking gentleman in, like, black silk shirt and everything, and one of those old coolie hats came in, and he bowed, and he said, hi, y'all. You sit anywhere you want to. I'm like, okay, right. So I sat down, and I was all excited. He came by the table, I said, okay, what kinds of sake do you have? And I swear on my mother's grave, he said, we got both kinds. We got hot and cold.
Oh.
That's kind of what I thought. I turned, and I looked at the fellas at the end of the table, and they kind of did this. I said to the waiter, okay, Cletus, listen, you're not a plumber, right? I would have seen you somewhere. Anyway, I want to know what kind of sake you have. What is the brewery? What prefecture? Where does the rice come from? And he looked at me confused. He said, let me get you a menu. We went to get a menu. I looked at the fellas. And by now, they're doing this. Cletus brought out a menu, and I looked at it. They had exactly 4 kinds of sake. 3 of them were rot-gut, bottom-of-the-shelf, clean-your-glassware sake from California. One of them was actually from Japan. It's the stuff the Japanese use to clean their glassware. I call it grade sake, but at least it's real. So I said to him, you can bring me what is apparently your top of the line. And he went off to get the sake. And I engaged the gentlemen in conversation to the backs of their heads. And I noticed from the corner of my eye, old Cletus came back. He had a tray. I saw glass and a bottle. And he started to raise the bottle, and I turned. And I said, stop. And he said, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why is there a cucumber sticking out of my glass? He said, don't you want it? Okay, all right, work with me here. Okay, picture this. I walk in to the finest French restaurant in New York City. And I say, good afternoon, Garçon. I'd like my usual table, if you don't mind. I just thank you very much. Kindly bring me along a glass of Saint-Emilion 1999, please. Oh, and put a dead trout in it, would you be so kind? Maybe filter it through an old jock strap before I take a sip. No, I don't want a goddamn cucumber in my socket. Get it out of there! So he hurriedly took the glass away. By now, they just weren't even there with me. I, to this day, have no idea why they would be possessed to put a goddamn cucumber in my socket. They can be fancy on their own time. And to this day, nobody knows what caused that restaurant to burn down.
High-grade accelerants.
Second Amendment.
Alcohol.
With the alcohol inside of a cocktail.
Some of you probably have heard of my adventures in flying. It seems that these days there's a lot of things happening when people fly, and for some reason 92.8% of them happen to me. I'm a high-class kind of guy. I got all these frequent flyer miles because fantastic adventures like this one fly me all over the world, and I build up all these miles, and that gives me clout on the airlines. And when I fly, I sit in the airline club. I sit in the executive club, you see, because I'm an executive club kind of guy. I like to find a quiet corner, open up my computer and, send an email to stuff, catch up on things, see what kind of tweeter-twatters are tweeting out there. And, of course, clear out for affinity, because you get a lot of those things shown up there, right? I had found a quiet little corner of the club when that guy came in. Now you know who I mean, that guy. He's the guy that has apparently the bad Bluetooth earpiece that must have a lot of static on it, because he can't really hear what he's saying unless he's talking like this, because he's talking to his buddy. Okay, now on Monday morning we're going to have to start that project. I want that project started about 8:30. Now I want you to call this guy. And he decided to sit down and park himself right next to me. And when that happens, you go through the list. You start out with the cold glare. And if that doesn't work, you go to the exasperated eye roll. And if that doesn't work, you go to the impatient glower. And he was completely oblivious. Now it's time to pull out the big guns. I had my laptop with me. I went to YouTube, and I searched for the phrase, sweet transvestite. Cranked up the volume and let it rip. Even started doing the dance. I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. He got up and walked away. Try that sometime. It's very, very effective.
You should try singing that this way.
One of the nice things about the clubs is that, number one, the wine is free. And number two, if you've got a problem with your flight, they got people right there that can take care of you. I prefer the first part. I don't like the second part. Because I was at a club in Chicago, and it was, the weather was kind of coming up bad. This is back in the winter time. And I had about 2 hours to kill. So I did. I killed that 2 hours completely dead. Matter of fact, I think the bartender was starting to think maybe we should re-examine this free wine policy. Because we're losing money on this guy. And after the 2 hours, I got up, and they keep tilting the airport on me. And I'm dragging my bag with me, and I'm gonna find my gate. Go to my gate, okay. Oh, sorry. And I got to my gate, and I'm looking and say, oh look, it's going to Cancun. Oh no, that says canceled. Oh hell. I got a problem because I'm supposed to be at work the next morning. So I went back to the club and I said, why is my flight going to Cancun? The lady said, oh, well, the Raleigh flight's been canceled, so we can't do anything. The flight is canceled. There's apparently bad weather. And I said, well, how bad could it be? It's North Carolina. They don't get weather down there. So I said, listen, I need to get to work in the morning. I don't care what you got to do. I am not going to spend a night here in Chicago. You need to get me to Raleigh by tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, or things are going to get unpleasant for everyone. She said, I'm trying. And I said, try harder. I've got to get out of here. And she said, okay, I can get you to Raleigh tonight. I said, good, do it. She said, you'll have to go through Newark, New Jersey. I said, get me a hotel room. Anybody from Newark? You wouldn't admit it, would you? I'm from Philadelphia, so I can say these things about Newark. Because from Philadelphia, you can smell it. It's that close. Only about 90 miles away. I'm not fond of Newark, and I said to the lady, what did I ever do to you? And she said, I'm sorry, if you want to get to Raleigh, you're going to have to go through Newark. And I said, how long will I be there? She did the tappity-tapping. She said, 3 hours. I said, get me a hotel room. But she said, look, if you want to get to Raleigh tonight, that's what you got to do. I'm picturing like the Odyssey or something, you know, if you wish to get home, you must go through the caves of doom and despair and giant teeth that bite your ankles and things like that. So I got on the plane. Chicago is amazing because any kind of snowstorm that would completely paralyze an airport anywhere else in the world, Chicago doesn't care about. You can have a 40-foot snowdrift on the runway and the plane will just plow through it and leave a plane-shaped hole, Wile E. Coyote style. And it did. The plane landed in Newark. And I got off the plane, holding my nose, and dragged my bag, and they've got United Airlines Club there. I opened my bag and pulled out one of these. I said, it's still free, right? And I heard in the back a voice say, oh God, it's Conway. I said, line them up, I'm here for the next 3 hours. So they did, and I was. And every 15 minutes, I got up when I looked at the monitor. On time. Got it. Okay, on time. That's what I want. On time. And when I got up, the final time I looked at the monitor, on time. Great. And I was dragging my bag in the long, meandering walk. And when I got to the gate, this one's going to Cancun as well. And I went back to the club. And I said, all right, what's going on? And the man did the tappity-tapping. He said, that flight's canceled due to weather. And I said, what, weather in Raleigh? He said, no, weather here. Well, there's a big window behind me. And I looked down, and I saw clear, twinkling stars. And I said, excuse me, is the weather on that side of the airport that I just can't see it? He said, I'm sorry, this is what it says. It says weather cancellation. And I said, what weather? What, there is, okay, look, are you looking at the same sky I am? That sky is devoid of clouds. It is devoid of rain. It is devoid of snow. And he said, it's also apparently devoid of airplanes. I had to give him that one. That time I was like, dude, you're good. So I said, when can you get me home? Please, God, don't sound like I gotta stay here. So he went on his computer and he said, the next flight out will be at 6:30 a.m. I said, oh, thank God. He said, Thursday. I said, I am not staying here. Well, the story is very, very long, and I'm going to shorten it down. Simply say, it was better for me to hop a taxi to the train station, ride a train to Philadelphia, hitchhike from the Philadelphia train station to the airport, and fly from the airport in Philadelphia to Raleigh before I would stay another night in Newark. And again, if anybody is from Newark, I am deeply, deeply sorry that you're from Newark. There are fates worse than that, but quite frankly, right now, I can't think of any. I would have preferred to have gone through Iran. There's fewer people shooting at you.
So true.
You might have noticed I like to drink. Wine. I drink only wine. I do not drink hard liquor, only wine. No vodka, no whiskey, no fruit juice, no water, just wine. It is my drink of choice. And nowhere is the wine better than in Germany. That wine comes from, actually this particular wine comes from the Columbia Valley in Washington State, but it's very, very close to the wines that come from the Mosel Valley in Germany. I love them to pieces. And when I go to Eurofurence, they know what I like, and they make sure that I have it in excess. Usually, as a matter of course, I don't start drinking before 5 o'clock in the afternoon. In Germany, I try not to start drinking before 7 o'clock in the morning. Matter of self-discipline. There's a problem. I am widely seen as the face of furry fandom. You guys got a problem, you need a better face. If this is what you're dealing with.
I don't want
No,
the job.
there's too much shine on top there, the cameras couldn't handle it. No, they only get alkali from here down.
Telephone.
That's just Mozart.
Telephone. Telephone.
I was staggering around the lobby of the Maritime Hotel in Magdeburg, which is where Eurofurence was. I had already gone through about 5 of these before breakfast. That's why I like Eurofurence so much. Because, anyone, random people, if they see me without a glass in my hand, they will put one in it filled with wine. It's like I done died and gone to heaven. And we went to war with these people.
They started it.
What?
They started it.
Well, that's a matter of opinion. The problem is, World War II, it all boiled down to a tug of war over France. And the Germans let go. And we're like, yeah, we get, oh God.
That's pretty true.
Any French
My
people here?
materials.
I couldn't do this one in Europe. But anyway, I was happily stumbling around, and it's nice. There's a lot of fursuiters there, and you can be as drunk as you want when there's a lot of fursuiters because it's like, like you got cushioning everywhere you go. You can't fall down. It's like being in a pillow room. And I was vaguely aware of the dotted outline of one of the executive staff standing in front of me saying, Uncle Kage, could you come here? I want you to talk to someone. And I'm like, all right, I got it. Where is he? Oh, hi. Okay, I'm going to talk to them. Where is he? Oh, the little guy. Hi. How you doing? Dude, you're rocking that mustache. It ain't as cool as Hitler's, but I swear, I got to get me a mustache like that. And the gentleman leaned over and whispered in my ear a German phrase. If anybody here speaks German, das ist der Bürgermeister von Magdeburg. This is the mayor of Magdeburg. We found out a way to sober me up fast. I'm like, hello. How are you? Do you speak English? He said 9, I said good. And I went to the guy later and I said, why did you do that? Couldn't you tell that I was so completely shit-faced I couldn't stand up? And he said, I've never seen you any other way.
That was Night Fox, wasn't it?
No, that was Overth.
Oh!
Night Fox has seen me sober. Once for 5 minutes. How many people remember the cartoon SWAT Cats? Woo! That's a lot of you. I was working at the United States government, U.S. Food and Drug Administration facility in Arkansas, back in the 1990s when SWAT Cats first hit the air. I am never going to forget my first impression when I turned on this cartoon. And the first thing I saw was anthropomorphic cats. Okay, that's cool. And the next thing I saw was an anthropomorphic cat gangster firing a rocket launcher into a warehouse where the rival gang was, and then we see the flaming warehouse with a charred hand silhouetted against the flames, and I said, that's cool! Oh my god, this cartoon has a body count! I was transfixed. And then the opening came on, that amazing guitar riff came on, the SWAT Cats theme, and that's it. I am now addicted. This is my crack. I watched it through, and I am never going to watch anything else again. You know, I'm just going to blind myself, because there is nothing I can see that is more cool than this. At the end, the little cartoon voice man came on and said, write and tell us what you think. And they gave an address in Cuyahoga Boulevard in whatever, California. You know, Hanna-Barbera Studios. So, I said, I'm going to write them. But you know, I don't just want to write an everyday fan letter. So, oh my god, its head came off. So I snuck into the secretary's office and I snitched some official U.S. government FDA letterhead. The statute of limitations is passed, I can tell the story now. And I typed up, this was back then, remember? A very, very nice, thoughtful, well thought out, and I hope erudite letter to Christian and Yvonne Tremblay. These are the gentlemen who were listed as the creators of SWAT Cats. Dear Monsieur Tremblay, you know, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Sam Conway. I'm a scientist and I work at the U.S. I have just seen your amazing creation, SWAT Cats, and I am completely and utterly flabbergasted, and this is the greatest thing, and I like it for the years. Here's a bullet points, A, B, C, why you guys are cool. Please continue and continue to be awesome. You know, sincerely, Dr. Sam Conway, senior chemist, blah, 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 blah. And I sent it away. And about a month later, I got the standard little fan packet back. You get the SWAT Cat sticker, and you get a little certificate, and you get the button to wear it. I thought, oh, how cute, they got my letter. 2 weeks after that, a very thick envelope showed up. And when I pulled it out of the mailbox, I saw that the return address was Christian Tremblay. I thought, oh my. And I pulled it open, and there was a fan letter to me that essentially said, holy fucking shit, an actual scientist is watching our cartoon! They had, you know, they sent me some copies of storyboards and things and some background, basically just saying, you know, dude, this is really cool, we're gonna tell you all this nice stuff. And it included a storyboard illustration that made me just completely drop my jaw when I saw it. If you're a fan of SWAT Cats, or if you're not a fan and you aren't yet, go to YouTube and look up the second season, the first episode called Mutation City. which is, Dr. Viper shows up and does dreadful things, and is defeated by a serum which is developed by a character named Dr. Conway. My claim to fame in the cartoon world. Dr. Conway, by the way, was voiced by Jim Cummings, who was the guest of honor at Anthrocon this past year. Has anybody not heard the story of how Mr. Cummings arrived at Anthrocon this year? Enough of you. I usually save this story for the convention horror stories panel. I sent a limousine to pick up Mr. Cummings. The poor man was coming in after midnight, so it is my job as chairman. I have to stay up and wait for him. It was well after midnight when I got the phone call, as was the arrangement from the limousine driver, in a very thick Pennsylvania accent. Yeah, this here's the limousine driver. According to the GPS, I'm about 10 minutes out. I said, all right, thank you. I'll go out and meet you. 13 minutes later, I was starting to get concerned. And my cell phone rang again. And I said, yes. Actually, no, I didn't. At Anthrocon, when my cell phone rings, the answer is usually, what? It happens here too, just listen to it. He said, yeah, this is the driver again. I think they gave me the wrong address. I said, dude, it's the convention center. Pittsburgh has only one. It's right there, the big white building on the river. Keep driving until your front tires are wet. You're bound to see it. He said, it's 1000 Penn Avenue, right? I said, yes. He said, oh, here's the problem. They gave me the wrong zip code. I said, where are you? The answer was Wilkinsburg. Anybody here from that area? No, because I would have heard, oh! Look up on Google Maps sometime, Google Street View. 1000 Penn Avenue in Wilkinsburg is a burned out crack house in the middle of a ghetto. I didn't know at the time, I did not know until later, that Mr. Cummings had fallen asleep because of the late hour in the back of the limousine. When he woke up, the limousine was parked under a bridge. And the driver was saying, this can't be right. This ain't the West End, they ain't fooling me. And Jim said, what gave it away? Where do you think the West End is? Hiding behind that wino? So the driver called me and I gave him the proper zip code. And I only found out later that the driver didn't know how to work the GPS. Mr. Cummings had to take the GPS, put the address in, and was calling directions through the little window to the driver. Yeah, you're going to come to a light, you're going to make a left. Yeah, I got it. Which way am I turning again? The limousine showed up at the Westin, which has a circular drive in front with a concrete sort of island there. I was waiting. Big Blue Fox was standing there with the big blue camera and he was filming this. And there's a piece of film footage that shows the limousine coming around that concrete island, bumping its back tire up on the curb and then slamming down again. And you can clearly hear on the videotape a familiar voice shouting, "Motherfucker!" At which point, BBF decided to stop the filming because he figured I wouldn't want a record. The driver got out. Disheveled-looking guy with a rumpled, short-sleeved, gray shirt, pit stains, untucked. I didn't look at him. I just went up to the back door and I opened it, and there was Jim Cummings, who was staring at the electrical panel which was swinging from a wire hypnotically in front of his eyes. And I stepped back, and he got out of the car, and I said, "Good evening, Mr. Cummings. I'm Sam Conway. I'm the chairman of Anthrocon and your host for the weekend." "I'm so sorry!" sorry! Oh my God, I'm sorry! And you wonder why con chairmen look like this? I am 26 years old. Couldn't be the booze. A couple of weeks ago, I received a phone call. Now, for many years I've been friends with an elderly gentleman in Pennsylvania, a man named Paul Gordon. Paul Revere Gordon, his name. He was a veteran of World War II. He had been a ball turret gunner in a B-17 that was shot down on the way to Lille in France on the 9th of October in 1942. He was taken in by the Germans and became, shall we say, a guest of the German government, Stalag 17, for the remainder of the war. I adored Paul. He was an amazing storyteller. I will never forget the very, very first time I met him. It was in an air show in the town of Reading in Pennsylvania. It had started to rain a bit, and I took shelter under the wing of an aircraft, and there was a kindly-looking old gentleman there with a ball cap that said, XPOW, Stalag 17B, Krems, Austria, and I was like, hello. Good. And I said to him, do you care to tell me your story? And he put his hands in his pockets and said, yeah, I was a ball turret gunner. When you're down in the ball turret, you're all by yourself, and nobody ever talks to you. You're the last guy to hear anything. But I figured about the time the plane was upside down and the tail fell off, it might be time to go. I was, okay, I'm hooked right now. And he started telling his story. And I just listened, mouth open, drooling on myself, listening to this man tell the tale. And a bunch of other people started to gather around. Even people who couldn't fit under the wings, standing in the rain. This huge crowd started to gather around this little man who was just telling this tale. And I saw this happen, and I said, holy shit. I just found the Uncle Kage of the 1940s. But Paul and I became very, very fast friends. And when I moved down to North Carolina, I still maintained contact with him. As a matter of fact, he was still in contact with an old lady over there who was 9 years old when he landed in a farmer's field in France. It was her father who had rescued this American flyer, shot up, bleeding, in shock, taken him, laid him on her bed, and patched him up. So this wonderful lady is still around, and they kept up correspondence, but the language barrier slowed that correspondence when they found out that I can speak French. I was the translator for them. Several weeks ago, my cell phone rang, and it was a number I didn't recognize. Ordinarily, I'm very harsh when that happens, but for some reason today I wasn't. And a woman's voice said, is this Sam Conway? And I said, yes it is, what can I do for you? And she said, I'm a friend of the Gordon family. And I said, stop right there. Is this the phone call that I've always been afraid I was going to get someday? And she said, yes it is. I said, when? She said, last night in his sleep peacefully. I thanked her. My next duty was to make a phone call to France, where the reaction was pretty much the same. When Madame Canton picked up the phone and heard it was me, she immediately started to cry, because this 70-year-old story that they had been living was finally coming to an end. Now, Paul's wife asked me to say a few words at his funeral. And I told her I would reluctantly agree because it's very difficult for me to talk in front of people. I started to think of what I wanted to say. First off, I wanted to bring along somebody with me. A lot of you may know the artist Gideon in the family. Gideon is also an old friend of the family. He was a friend of Paul's as well. So I called him up and I said, would you like to go to the funeral with me? I'm going to drive up for it. And on the drive up, I was trying to think of what I wanted to say. And something struck me that I had never realized. I know Paul's stories inside out, upside down. I can recite every single one of them to you verbatim. I don't have much time, so I'm not going to, but maybe later at the bar. Paul was an incredible man, a remarkable man, because he went through the horrors of a German prisoner of war camp in World War II with his sense of humor intact. And when you read his story, which you can, if you go to barnesandnoble.com, a book called Fourth Down, Can't Run, Can't Pass, Paul R. Gordon. When you read his story or listen to him tell his story, it occurred to me, in the many years I knew him, I never heard him speak ill of his captors. He never said one bad word about the German people. In fact, he went out of his way to refer to one of the prison camp guards as a likable fellow. This was a man who struck up a friendship with the German Luftwaffe pilot who shot him down, and they sent Christmas cards back and forth. This was a man that described secondhand the report he got, the 5 men who perished in the crash of that bomber on the 9th of October in 1942, how the bodies were extricated from the wreckage, a funeral detail was organized, the bodies were laid out, wreaths were placed on the coffins were carried by this particular detachment, a band was brought up, the following hymns were played, the following prayers were spoken as the bodies were lowered into the ground, a salute was fired with the rifles, and the dispatch returned to its base. This was a translation of a German Luftwaffe dispatch. It was German soldiers who buried the American flyers with full military honors. You don't learn that in history class these days. And it occurred to me that Paul, more than anything, was a teacher. He wasn't just telling stories, he was trying to teach us something. And only after he died did it finally click in my head. That amazing lesson that he was trying to give. That even in the worst of times, when the world is going to hell, when humanity is sunk to its lowest point, there is still good in all of us if we only take the chance to look for it. And that's a lesson I will carry with me the rest of my life. At his funeral, which was a beautiful affair. By the way, that was the self-same words I spoke. Afterward, there was a memory book that was there. And it had pictures of Paul in the war, pictures of Stalag 17, pictures of the now deceased German Luftwaffe pilot with whom Paul had become friends, pictures of the people from France. And Gideon and I were standing and we're leafing through the book and remembering Paul's stories. And I turned one particular page and I stopped. And I said, Gideon, what's that? There was, on one of the pages of this big scrapbook, a drawing of an anthropomorphic wolf in a Luftwaffe uniform. And on the other page was a picture of a fox in an RAF uniform. And I said, didn't you draw those? And he said, yes, I did. And I said, did you give them to Paul? He said, no, I don't think I did. I said, well, where would he have gotten them from? He said, well, the only place they've ever been put up is on my webpage. And I went to Mrs. Gordon and I said, excuse me, those pictures of the furry animals in there, where did you come across them? And she said, oh, they were in a box under Paul's bed, along with some others. Here's you, Paul. And here's to all of you for being such a kindly audience and listening to an old man prattle on as he destroys his liver. You're very, very kind, but the stage now belongs to someone else, and I'm going to give it up, and I'm going to go out there and finish this class. Thank you once again.